Okay, hello folks, how you guys doing? My name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. What's happening, my peoples, where you at? So, lots of stuff to talk about out there, lots of wacky things that happened over the last couple of days. But before we get into that, this is what we're working on. This is our little toast dragon. Just something I kind of made up the other day and was goofing around with and decided to give it a little bit of color. And I don't know, maybe we'll throw a background on here or something. We'll see where it goes. So, happy Easter, everyone, or happy belated Easter, since Easter is already past. Those of you who are religious probably celebrated the Easter holiday. Did you know that this past Easter Sunday was also the Trans Visibility Day? Did you know that? I had no idea that was even a thing, but apparently that caused a lot of Republicans and conservatives to completely lose their minds this past Easter, because it just so happened that this not even holiday, because it's not a holiday, it's just a day that's set aside to commemorate trans people, that this day happened to fall on Easter this year. Now, here's the thing about this, right? This day, this Trans Visibility Day, was something that was created back in 2009, or 2010 rather, I think. So it's not like it's something that was just created just right now. It's been around for about 15 years at this point. 14, 15 years. So it's not a brand new thing that anyone created just to mess up Easter, or to like persecute Christians or some shit like that. That's just not true at all. That's not a thing. It's not part of any weird satanic conspiracy, right? Nobody did it in order to take this day away from Jesus or some dumb shit like that. But if you were to listen to the Christians on this matter, you would think that this is the opening salvo in a straight up war against God. You would think that this was basically Satan trying to kickstart the apocalypse. The way that these people took it, it's absolutely fucking ridiculous. Here's what I don't understand, folks, right? Why does Easter move? I mean, if you're a Christian, right? If you're a Christian person and you actually believe that Jesus was a real person, and then you actually believe that Jesus Christ rose from the dead, and that he did it on Easter Sunday, then why is it a different day every year? Why wouldn't it just be celebrated on the same day every year because it happened on this day? Wouldn't we be able to go back through the historical record and find that, hey, Jesus Christ was a real person and he rose from the dead on this day, April 5th, every single year, or something like that? Don't you think that would be something that we would be able to find if it was actually true? Don't you think they wrote dates down and stuff back in ancient Rome, so you think they would have wrote that date down, right? You think we would know exactly when it happened if it was an actual real event. That's not what Easter is. Easter changes every year. It's always on a different day. Why is that? Because Easter Sunday is made up. It's a made-up holiday that happens to correspond with a certain date, and it has to be calculated according to astronomical signs or some shit like that. Specifically, Easter is the first full moon that occurs on or after the spring equinox. That's why it changes every single year. It's actually more associated with Passover, because that's when Passover occurs. Easter occurs during Passover week. And it's worth noting that all of the other countries out there, all of the other languages and countries where they celebrate Easter, the word for Easter is actually taken from the Hebrew word for Passover, right? It's some variation of that. But in English, it's not. In English, it's the word Easter has nothing to do with the word Passover. In English, it's actually taken from a pagan spring fertility goddess named, and excuse me if I don't pronounce this right, Eostre. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Eostre. Eostre, right? I could be totally wrong. I could be butchering that. I have no idea even what language that's in. Some kind of Old English or Proto-Germanic or some shit like that. Who even knows? And this comes from a goddess. That was her name. And she was worshipped way back in the day before the Christianization of Europe. And it was even so that the month of April was named after this goddess. And she had holidays. That is, she had her festival days during the month of April. So while the actual Jesus and the resurrection and all that stuff, yeah, that's Christian, all of the other sort of cultural accoutrements that we associate with Easter have nothing to do with Christianity at all. The Easter bunny, the eggs, the lily pads, things like that. And all of this stuff comes from pagan roots that we associate with this Germanic spring goddess. The wild hares and stuff, that was a thing in England previous to Christianization. Rabbits and hares and things were considered sacred, stuff like that, right? And then the eggs, of course, are symbols of a fertility goddess. So it's not like Easter as we know it in the West really has much to do with Christianity. Not really. It's a combination of two different traditions. It's basically taking Hebrew Passover and combining it with relic practices of this pagan goddess known as Eostre, right? And that's what Easter is today. It has very little to do with the actual resurrection, if there even was one. And because, once again, you would think that if it actually was all about the resurrection, and if the resurrection was real and it actually happened, then we would have a set date for Easter. But we don't. Instead, what we actually celebrate with Easter is we're celebrating the spring equinox. That's what it is. It's essentially an astrological holiday that has pagan roots which are apparent even today. Even today, when you go to Target and you buy your kids a chocolate bunny for Easter, this is a holdover from pagan practices from 1400 years ago or whatever, however long ago that was. So to say that the purity of Easter is sullied by recognizing a trans day of visibility on the same day is just complete and total bullshit of the highest order, and has no basis in fucking reality whatsoever. Of course, that is exactly what the Christians did, because we live in a hell world where the craziest people in our society have access to forms of mass communication and are able to cause this trouble and spread misinformation to a scale that is just unprecedented at any other time in our history. So I want to show you some of this insane reaction to this thing here. I've got here a couple of things that I pulled out, which I thought you guys might like. This is something I found on Reddit that came from the subreddit for pics, which is not a political subreddit. Jesus Visibility Day. Of course, mocking the Trans Visibility Day, which just happened to fall on the same day. You'll notice that this is a crappy AI art of Jesus. Like, they couldn't even go and find an actual painting or something of Jesus Christ. They got to use some AI bullshit. Thankfully, the reaction to this one wasn't 100% what I believe this person wanted. There was a lot of pushback on it and stuff like that because, people are not fools and they don't generally fall for bullshit. Speaking of bullshit, here's Vivek Ramaswamy tweeted this. Joe Biden just proclaimed that Transgender Visibility Day is on Sunday, March 31st. I wonder how he came up with that idea. Please keep in mind that no, Joe Biden did not proclaim this at all. It fell on that day because for the last 15 years, this day was recognized on March 31st. If anything, Easter is falling on Trans Visibility Day and not the other way around. Of course, Vivek Ramaswamy would know that if he would have taken 5 seconds to actually look it up. But he doesn't give a fuck because Vivek Ramaswamy is a liar and a fraud. and also a fascist piece of shit who is spreading lies here on purpose. Here's something that I thought was funny, this little one right here. This community note is laughable. Let's click on that. This community note is laughable. There's not an iota of factual deficit in the post that it's correcting, quote unquote. What's the community note? Well, if you look down here, because you notice you don't see it on his actual tweet here, right? You think there would be there. I don't know how he got rid of that community note. But this is what the community note says. It says this. See, here's his tweet. Trans Day of Visibility has always fallen on March 31st since 2009, whereas Easter Sunday has not fallen on March 31st since 2013 and will not fall again until 2086. You'll remember back in 2013, nobody even noticed this. That kind of shows how crazy the discourse has gotten and how far right the country has been pushed, that people are losing their minds over something so fucking insignificant. I mean, let me ask you guys a question. Does anybody even give a shit about the Trans Day of Visibility? Did you even know it was a thing? I mean, if you're a trans person, maybe you knew. But I'm willing to bet that trans people out there didn't even know this was a thing either, unless you're an activist, unless you're like a politically active person, then you probably knew. So why didn't anybody flip the fuck out back in 2013? Because it's bullshit that no one cared about back then. And now people care about it because the right wing in this country are fucking crazy. That's why. Fuck Vivek Ramaswamy, the guy's a fucking slime. This is Charlie Kirk, something I found on Reddit. This is my favorite subreddit. It's called Toilet Paper USA. All they do is make fun of Charlie Kirk and his organization, TPUSA. Charlie Kirk demands that Donald Trump focus his presidential campaign on banning trans healthcare and canceling Trans Day of Visibility, a strategy that worked horrifically for Republicans who tried it in 2022 and 2023. This is only 2 minutes long. Let's listen to what Charlie Kirk has to say. Oh, let me turn it up.
That are pushing for this politically. There are some groups, I know many of you there's some remnants out there, there's some small feminist groups, but it is the leading feminist organizations in the country that are either silent or complicit in pushing this. Because feminism was never about advancing female rights. Feminism was about hating men.
Okay.
And what better way to hate men than to take young boys and chop off their parts? So many feminists are on board for this.
All right. First
I know
off,
that's really sick, and I wish. And the way feminism was about hating men.
So we need to interject there, of course. Let's make this full size since I reduced the size of his window because he's a small little man. Or actually, he's not a small little man. He just has a small little face on a giant head. But we need to interject there, okay? Because no, feminism is not about hating men. I need to interject here so that Twitch and later YouTube don't kick my stream here. I'm speaking out against this asshole YouTube. See, I always have to make sure I say these things, right? Because especially YouTube will just like Autobots will just flag your shit, ban you and stuff because the fucking AI isn't good enough to understand yet. But no, feminism has nothing to do with chopping men's dicks off. That's not a thing. That's bullshit. That's like a stereotype of like the evil man-hating feminist that goes around and castrates men with a broken Coke bottle or whatever. Right. And no, it is not. There is no conspiracy among, radical, insane feminists to go and destroy an entire generation of men by, I don't know, forcing them to fucking chop off their balls or something. That's just not a thing. This guy has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. It really does seem like every time Charlie Kirk opens his mouth, he just gets more and more insane, more and more radical. And every time I hear this guy speak, it seems like he's just pushing the envelope into violence a little bit more, It's really only a matter of time before some psychopath shows up and just fucking like goes on a murder spree because Charlie Kirk like said somebody was evil. It's only a matter of time, I think, before that happens. So, anyway. But, let's continue on. He's got about a minute left.
Men. And what better way to hate men than to take young boys and chop off their parts?
Just bullshit.
So many feminists are on board for this entire project. And the way the way that some feminists look at it, they say more women are joining our ranks. They just used to be called men. I know that's really sick, and I wish it was just about.
I mean, I think I'm not the only person out there who thinks that is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I don't understand how people could take this guy seriously. Just think about what he just said. So does that mean? Okay, let me try to just think about it this rationally, and let's believe what Charlie Kirk said. Okay, let's imagine for half a nanosecond that this deranged lunatic is actually onto something, and that feminism is behind the trans movement, if there even is a trans movement. I mean, it's just people living their lives. I don't know how you can call that shit a movement, but whatever. Behind the trans movement, in order to get more people into their ranks. So does that mean that a female to male trans person, that is someone who was assigned female at birth, who then goes on to become a man, does that mean that the men's right movement is behind that in order to get more men into their movement? Is that what I'm led to believe? I mean, it sounds incredibly silly. The more you think about it, it's just the dumbest fucking shit, like, ever. It's so fucking stupid, but you know that there are people at home right now salivating over every fucking word this moron says. Because that's how fucking deranged and idiotic our fucking country has become. Moving on.
About money. And yes, Pfizer, all these companies are going to make a ton of money, but this is ideological at its core.
Pfizer. Why did he mention Pfizer? I mean, does Pfizer supply the hormones for trans people or something like that? I don't know, maybe. But I think he probably mentioned Pfizer there because of vaccines. Any way that he can, like, basically get in there and throw a little shade at the pharmaceutical companies for creating those vaccines, he has to do it. He's kind of a moron, right? But he is good at his job. And his job, that being radicalizing and scaring conservatives. He's very good at that. There's a reason why Charlie Kirk is so successful. All right. The shit he's saying is stupid as hell. And I really don't think that this guy would last 5 minutes without the rich benefactors that basically prop him up. But he's very, very good at what he does. He's very good at his messaging. All right, I'll put it this way. The shit he says is stupid, but he's not an idiot. He's not an idiot. He's very astute. He's like Ben Shapiro. Some of these guys are just morons. Like, Dave Rubin, for example. Conservative pundit. Dave Rubin is a fucking idiot. And I'm surprised that he hasn't, like, forgotten how to breathe or whatever. And, like, died a long time ago. I'm surprised his career is even still going. Dave Rubin, fucking complete moron. Candace Owens is a complete moron too. Right? Some of these people, they just like, yeah. No, they're flash in the pan idiots are not going to be around in 5 years. No, but this guy will be. This guy and like Ben Shapiro or whatever, they're very astute. They're very good at what they do. They're very good at their messaging. They're very good. They know what buttons to push in order to piss people off just enough and always maintain a little bit of plausible deniability. Oh, I'm not being racist. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying all black people should whatever XYZ. I'm just saying all Christians should be executed. I'm just saying this, that, and the other thing. No, but I'm not, saying this or whatever. No. They always know, like, where to stop, where that line stops, in order to basically keep themselves from getting canceled or whatnot. And they know exactly what their audience wants. They know what buttons to push. They know what rhetoric to fucking use. They know exactly how far they can push it, how far they can take it, and they know exactly how to hide their true intentions in order to basically maximize that outrage dollar. That's what these fucking guys do. Right? And he's saying it right here. And Charlie Kirk continuously pushes that envelope. One day he's going to step over the line. One day he's going to say something that is going to even be too far for his audience. But who knows? Maybe by that point he might have successfully radicalized them to the point where he can like openly call for people like non-whites and gays and stuff to be thrown into gas chambers, and his audience might fucking like go for it. Something tells me we're not that far away from that. Let's continue a little more.
It's ideological, and it's no mistake that have happened on the high holy day. It's a spiritual war. And Christians don't know how to react to this. We must
He's lying, by the way, of course. Yeah, remember the other thing about Charlie Kirk is that he has an entire staff full of workers, full of fact checkers, right? Producers and, all kinds of people who work on his shit. People who write his stuff for him. This guy has millions of dollars to work with. He's not just a dude in his bedroom like me on his home computer with an audience of like 5. Right? And 1,000 subs. He's not like that, no. This guy has a budget. He's got millions of dollars to work with. If he wanted to tell the truth, he could. Okay? It's not because he doesn't know. That's the thing you gotta remember, right? It's not because, I didn't know that this was a thing for 10 years. No. He didn't bother to find out because he's pushing a narrative. But that's the thing. He just has that little bit of plausible deniability. So if anybody were to actually show this to him, they'd be like, I didn't know that. I thought this was actually... No. He fucking knows what the truth is. He knows that what he just said right there was a lie. It fell on Easter, on this holy day, and they're doing it on purpose, right? He knows it's a fucking lie. Please remember about this guy and about all of these pundits. All of these pundits, him and Ben Shapiro and Dave Rubin and all the other fucking talking head morons who purposely spread lies. Let's continue.
react politically. We must ban trans-affirming care the entire country. Donald Trump needs to run on this issue. It is a 60, 70, 80% issue.
Ban trans-affirming care for the entire country. See, it wasn't that long ago, folks, where these guys were just talking about the little baby children, right? That's how it started. Oh, well, it's all these little kids out there. They're being tricked by their parents or whatever. They're being tricked by their peers. Oh, it's just all a fad or whatever. They're just kids. They don't know. They don't understand. And then it just started with that. And now he's straight up saying we need to just ban it across the entire country. Ban it for the entire country. So what does that mean? It's not just children, it's adults. This guy thinks that he has the right as a Christian in order to force you to live the way that he wants you to live. That's what all of this shit comes down to. Right? That's what all of the Christian conservative fucking Christian nationalist bullshit is. It's like they want to force you to live the way that they want to live, whether you like it or not. I mentioned this in one of my prior streams. The way they justify it is by saying that, well, our grace is going to cover you. You get to benefit from our grace. You get to benefit from the grace of God that we're going to bestow upon you by forcing you to live according to our religious creeds, whether you like it or not. The only proper way to respond to that is to say, go fuck yourself. That's the only way. That is the correct way to say that. When somebody comes to you and says, you're going to live this way, if you don't like it, whatever, we're going to force you to fucking do it. The only way to respond to that is a giant middle finger. That's what Christian nationalism, that's what Christian dominionism, that's what the Republican Party is all about nowadays. 57 seconds. Let's continue.
Issue. He's already kind of teased this out. Something that I'm going to pitch his team. I want to try to get Donald Trump in a room for 1 hour. I'll put it together. We'll pay for it. I'll get Dr. Miriam Grossman.
No, you won't.
I'll get Abigail Shire. I'll get James Lindsay. I'll get Aaron Friday. And just for 1 hour, I think Donald Trump really needs to get to understand how graphic this is. And I think he gets it. But many adults, parents I talk to, they say, what do you mean? You mean like, they're dressing differently? They're getting mastectomies. Do you want...
No, they're not. I mean, yes, well, adults are, yes, but he's talking about children once again. So you notice that he just said they want to ban trans-affirming care across the entire country, and then he switches back to kids, right? In order to justify it, that's what they have to do. This is what they're actually fucking advocating for. They're advocating for taking away people's rights, and they know that the reaction of the average American person is to fucking revolt against that shit. So they have to fall back on defending the little baby fetuses. The little children. Oh, the poor innocent little children who don't know what they're fucking doing, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Oh, their parents are tricking them, they're forcing them. And he's doing it again. Right here. They're getting vasectomies. Who cares if an adult gets a vasectomy? See, that's the thing. You're allowed to do whatever the fuck you want with your body. It's your body. If I want to go and get one of my ass cheeks removed surgically and then have it surgically stitched onto my forehead, right? So I'm like, walking around with a huge giant butt cheek flapping on my head. I can do that. I can do that. If I can find a doctor who will do that shit, I can do it. If I want to poke out both of my eyes and chop my nose off and cover my entire fucking body in tattoos, nobody can say a goddamn thing to me. There's people like that out there. There was a dude, I mean, obviously you've seen him. Guys who get their whole bodies covered in tattoos and they get their eyeballs tattooed and they chop their fucking, like, tongues in half. And, like, I even saw a guy that had his nose chopped off. And I was like, God damn, dude, that's extreme. I mean, but that's the thing. That's what's great about this country, is that you can do whatever the fuck you want. It's yours, right? If I want to chop off my thumbs if I felt like it, I could do that. If I wanted to go to the doctor right now and say, doctor, I want you to chop off my dick and my balls and put 2 big old titties on me, I am 100% free to do that. Who the fuck is Charlie Kirk to tell me that I'm not allowed to do that? But that's what he wants. He wants to ban it across the entire country. Why? Because Jesus. Which is the flimsiest fucking reason to do anything. So my imaginary fucking religious figure that probably doesn't exist, and even if he did, who cares? Like, that's why I want you to fucking obey this law. It's like, fuck that. That's the flimsiest shit, like, of all time. Why would anybody go for that? Nobody in their right mind will, so they have to hide it under the veneer of protecting children. Please remember, Charlie Kirk does not give a flying fuck about your children. 20 seconds left. Let's watch.
Understand what that is? That means they take every part out. And they're 13 years old.
See?
Not to mention the horror.
Told you. I told you that's exactly what he was going to do. I'm watching this blind, by the way. I'm watching this blind. So because of that, now listen to his rationale. His rationale is that it is not right for a 13-year-old person to get a vasectomy, so we need to ban it for everyone in the entire country. Like, how does that make any fucking sense? How does that make any sense? First off, 13-year-old kids typically aren't getting sex surgery, reassignment surgery, no. That's not a thing that typically happens. Now, am I going to say it's never happened ever in the history of the fucking human race? No. Okay? Because there are probably cases where minors have undergone this types of surgery, right? But it's not a normal thing that happens all the time. When you're a minor, typically you just socially transition until you turn 18. And then if your parents are on board with it, maybe they give you puberty blockers, which is not very common at all. Something like, what, 4,000 people or something in the entire country, in a country of like more than 350 million. Something like 4,000 people, children, are on puberty blockers. It's nothing. That's like not even 1%. That's like 1/100th of 1%. It's such a small number. Like, who cares? How does that affect anybody's life but theirs? And shouldn't they be allowed to make that decision? You know, if you're 13, I mean, yeah, okay, you're not legally old enough to make most decisions in your life. You should be allowed to decide how you want to present yourself, at the very least. Okay? I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to sit here and argue and say that, yeah, I think 13-year-old kids should allowed to get sex changes. I'm not going to say that. I think it should be up to your parents. I think your parent should be allowed to say, can you or can you not get any type of puberty blockers or some shit like that. That's what I think. But at the very least, that child should be allowed to present however they want to be presented. They should be able to do it, and they should be able to feel safe about it and not have to worry that some deranged fucking psychopath like Charlie Kirk is going to direct his followers to go beat the shit out of them or harass them or fucking like make their life a living hell like they do today. shouldn't have to worry about that. And he shouldn't have to worry about their medical treatment, which is what it is, being outlawed because some fucking big-headed douchebag thinks his imaginary sky daddy told him to. It's complete and total fucking bullshit. 14 seconds.
Hormones and the testosterone, the breast removal, and the puberty blockers that other countries don't do. Hope you had a great Easter. Trans Visibility Day will be canceled if Donald Trump wins in November.
He's probably right about that. Last little part about Charlie Kirk, where he says other countries don't do it. So, other countries don't do a lot of shit that we do here. Right? Like, say, North Korea. You can't vote in North Korea. Right? They don't do elections. Does that mean that we should get rid of our elections? Is that what it is? You know, Saudi Arabia, women aren't allowed to drive cars. Does that mean that, you know, like, oh, we shouldn't allow the same thing here, and women shouldn't allow to drive cars? Look at Saudi Arabia. Look how rich they are. That's the dumbest fucking shit ever. It's like every time this guy talks, it's just such a fucking idiot. Like he's incredibly, like, the shit he says is just incredibly fucking stupid. And people buy it. People buy it so much. It's like, god damn it. I don't know. Fuck Charlie Kirk. Let's get him off my fucking TV screen. Or, well, I guess not. Computer screen, whatever. Couple of more of these things that I want to show you before we finish up this subject. Okay, let's get rid of Charlie Kirk's big-ass fucking head. Fuck you. Here's another one I saw on Reddit. This is the actual proclamation from the president where he talks about the Trans Visibility Day. I found this on Reddit. Easter is canceled forever. It's over. Biden has declared March 31st to be Transgender Day of Visibility. Welcome to the new religion. And then, of course, this is the thing that the White House put out, talking about Trans Visibility Day, which is bullshit. Once again, this day was already designated, March 31st was already designated as the Trans Visibility Day for more than a decade, so Joe Biden didn't just declare it. It's not like Joe Biden can, like, force anybody to not celebrate Easter either. That's the other thing. It's like, okay, so even if he did declare it, which he didn't, why does that change you? Why does that change anything you celebrate? If you're a Christian and you want to celebrate Easter, then celebrate fucking Easter. Does anybody give a shit? No, they don't. Here's one I found. Happy Transgender Visibility Day with Michelle Obama. The title of this one, of course, is Big Mike Approves This Message. Where did this meme come from? And once again, Twitch and YouTube, I am debunking this meme. I just need to say that so that they don't kick my fucking video, right? Where did this come from? Well, it's a long-held conspiracy that Michelle Obama is a man, which is kind of a hallmark of racists and bigots going all the way back to the beginning of the Obama administration. Michelle Obama is quite obviously not a man. Maybe we should do a video all about that conspiracy theory, because that conspiracy theory is just wacky as hell too. It's beyond batshit insane. Continuing on, but anyway, yeah, this sort of conspiracy theory it does two things at once. It, disparages trans people, and you get to make fun of Obama at the same time by poking fun at Michelle, which is complete and total bullshit. Anybody who says this is an asshole. Moving on. This is some boomer piece of shit I found on Reddit. They blurred out his name, unfortunately, but oh well. Happy Easter, everyone. Remember what this day truly represents. Surely it's not Transgender Visibility Day. To those calling it that, Judgment Day is coming. Are you ready for God's wrath? Transgenders are an abomination in the eyes of God. A little reminder, folks, it says absolutely nothing in the Bible about transgender people at all. There is nothing in the Bible about that. There's nothing about men dressing as women or women dressing as men or men trying to turn into women or women trying to turn into men. There's nothing like that in the Bible whatsoever. There's nothing anywhere in the entire fucking thing talking about people who present as the opposite sex that they were assigned to at birth. Not a thing. I somehow, according to this guy, they are an abomination in the eyes of God. I wonder what Bible he's reading. I don't know. That's the thing you also find about American Christians specifically. Christians in America don't actually practice Christianity. They practice some weird fucking strange derivative of Christianity that actually has nothing to do with the actual religion itself. Anyway, continuing on. This is actually one, not all the memes I found were bad. Those of us who do absolutely want Easter replaced by Trans Visibility Day are ignored. Maybe this, here's the actual title of this one. The title is "The Democrats Would Never Be So Based." That is to say that no, the Democrats would never try to replace Easter with a progressive holiday like Trans Visibility Day. And that's true. So, yeah, not all of the memes I saw were negative. Moving on. Here's one. So, our conspiracy on Reddit is a hive of the worst fucking people on the internet. But every once in a while, you see something good come out of it. And I'm not kidding, right? All right, I want to rephrase that. Our conspiracy, the conspiracy subreddit, actually has gotten better in recent years. It used to be incredibly bad in there. Racists, like it was basically like the Donald back in the day. Lots of anti-Semitism, stuff like that. And you still see that pop up all the time, especially now with what's going on in Israel and all that. There is a lot of anti-Semitism, there's a lot of racism, a lot of race realism, that kind of thing. And now it seems to be mostly anti-vaxxers who are just as bad in my fucking opinion. But once in a while, you do actually see something kind of good come out of conspiracy, of that conspiracy subreddit. And this is this. Biden declaring Easter to be a transgender day of visibility is a dick move. See sticky comment. And basically, here's the thing I wanted to read to you guys, okay? Mod note. I've removed 5 or 6 threads on this topic in the past 24 hours. It's politically loaded hogwash and needs to be put to rest. And then he lists the International Transgender Day of Visibility from Wikipedia. Basically says this event was created in 2009. It's always celebrated on March 31st, no matter what the year is, always March 31st, compared to Easter, which does not have a set calendar date. And then he talks about the date of Easter and how it moves around and is the first full moon after March 21st, on or after March 21st, because March 21st is the equinox. So unlike the celebration of International Transgender Day of Visibility, the celebration of Easter does not have a fixed calendar date. Rather, it changes, occurring on the date of the first full moon after the March spring equinox, which was March 21st. Since 2009, when the first International Transgender Day of Visibility was celebrated, the holiday of Easter has fallen on the following dates. Then he lists all the dates that Easter has fallen on every single year. So we see that since 2009, the two celebrations have coincidentally fallen on the same calendar date twice, once in 2013, not now in 2024. Okay. Biden and his supporters may want to claim credit for this coincidence, which they didn't. While Trump and others may want to point to a crooked finger, Biden blaming him for the coincidence. In italics. But if either be the case, those who do so are either woefully ignorant or sleazy political opportunists. The fact that both holidays are falling on the same calendar date this year is a coincidence, in caps, nothing more, nothing less. Now go celebrate whatever it is you want to celebrate, or do whatever else suits your fancy, but please drop this bullshit. Aren't there better ways to spend your time? Hear, hear. God damn, I'm going to have to go and send a message to this guy, isn't it, this mod here, and, I don't know, buy him some Reddit gold or some shit, because that was like, way to fucking go. And it's nice to see, because, like I said before, right, folks, the conspiracy subreddit really sucks. It's filled with, like, wacky fucking insane people, especially like a lot of fucking anti-vaxxers nowadays. Like I said, tons and tons of anti-vaxxers fucking infest that place and spread misinformation and shit like that. So I'm not saying that it's a good place to hang out, but I do want to give that mod some kudos, because that guy is doing the right fucking thing. That guy's got a good head on his shoulders, and he is calling out the bullshit when he sees it, which is great. I only wish they would do the same thing with anti-vax shit, right? I wish they would do the same thing with anti-Semitism, stuff like that, but, you know, whatever. I mean, they are conspiracy theorists after all. So what have we learned, folks? What lesson have we learned from the Trans Day of Visibility debacle? I think the lesson we've learned is that conservatives, Republicans, and especially Christians are assholes. That's what. Now I want to kind of temper that here. I want to walk that back just a little bit. Not every single Christian is an asshole. Obviously not. There are millions and millions of good Christians out there who don't spread lies, who don't spread propaganda. It just seems to me that maybe they should get, I don't know, a little louder. Maybe we need to hear some more from the Christians who don't buy into this type of ridiculous hate speech. Because that's what it seems like it is. At least to me. It seems like every year they just get more and more insane. And bullshit like this gets spread further and farther. And it's always the conservative Christians that are spreading hate and fear, right? And are basically using their religion as an excuse to take away the rights of other people. You would think, you know, Easter, right? Easter is supposed to be the resurrection of Jesus. At least if you're a Christian, that's what you're supposed to believe, right? And what does Jesus Christ tell you to do? Okay? Definitely not what Charlie Kirk says, right? Definitely not what Vivek Ramaswamy says. You're supposed to, as a Christian, have goodwill towards men. You're supposed to forgive your enemies. You're supposed to give away your wealth. You're supposed to not judge anybody. That's another thing that Jesus tells you. Don't judge people, lest you be judged, right? Lest you be judged, excuse me. If that's, I don't know the exact Bible quote. But that's what you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to judge people. You're not supposed to throw the first stone. You know, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. All of that shit. Do people like Charlie Kirk live that way? Is Charlie Kirk living... Are you a Christian out there, folks? Any of you out there watching this, are you a Christian? Really, be honest now. Is what Charlie Kirk telling you, is that what Jesus would do? Kind of seems like no. Kind of seems like that's the exact opposite of what Jesus would do. Kind of seems like Charlie Kirk doesn't actually give a fuck about Jesus. And he doesn't actually give a fuck about Christianity at all. And what he really cares about is forcing his will on everyone else. Is that what you want to be known for? Right? Is that what the Bible says you're supposed to do? Think real hard and long about that, folks. For the rest of us, like me, who don't believe this shit anyway, we know what the actual score is, right, folks? Hello, folks. If you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.